Alright, so we're going to have a look at understanding decimal column addition, which can be a tricky module because any of the ones with understanding in them are going to be one of those ones that doesn't ask you to actually do the algorithm or do the sum. It asks you to explain what's happening. And the trick to getting your head around that is that these little boxes over here, they're actually telling you what's happening each step. You look at this and you go, well, what's happened here? And they've made the blue things, what's just happened? What's happened? And you just have to describe why have they put down that 6? Like what steps did they get to putting down that 6? And there's a real focus on understanding modules on being able to describe your place value. So it's about place value and it's about describing what they've done. So, and that goes for understanding column addition, multiplication, subtraction, anything that says understanding. You're telling me what they've done rather than they're showing me what they've done, and then you're telling me why they did it, basically. All right, so let's get started. Hopefully this helps a little bit to unpack it a little bit. All right, so the first thing that we need to know, and I might need to even make my pen even smaller because this is a little tricky one. This column here is going to be my units, right? This column here is going to be my tens. That makes this one here my tenths, hundredths, and the last one here with the 6 is my thousandths. So to be able to describe what each place value is, then you need to work this out. And we start from the right hand side. So we're going to start from the thousands and we're going to tick them off. Then we're going to go onto the hundreds and we'll tick them off, hundredths, then onto the tenths, then units, then tens. And the reason that we do that is because as we're adding our number together, sometimes we'll add up our thousandths and we'll end up with a hundredth. And that's why we end up having these little numbers which we're carrying. So I'll leave that there to help us out to start with. So the first thing that we need to do here is we're looking at our first column on the right, this one here, and we're going to describe what's happened. They've given you an example of what they've done over here. They've looked at their hundredths column, and they've gone, we've got 8 hundredths, tick, plus 4 hundredths, tick, equals 12 hundredths, tick. Then they put down their 2, which is the hundredths part, and then they have to carry, because we've put together, once you put together a bundle of 10 hundredths, you end up with a tenth. So then they've carried the ones, because once we've made 10 of something, it has to go into the column to the left. So we'll run through this now with this. All right. So my first thing here, and anytime there's a blank spot, it's just a 0. So we can put a 0 there to help us out a little bit. All right, and then I just read down what I've done. So if I was to solve this first column, I was going to start my addition. Then I would go 6. What column am I in? I'm in the thousands. So 6 thousandths plus how many thousandths? Plus 0 thousandths. So even if it's a 0, I still have to add it in. What does it all equal? Well, 6 thousandths plus 0 thousandths just equals 6 thousandths. So it's important to know our place value, or what column are we working in? What does each one of these 6 equal? So because this is in the thousands column, I put it down here in the thousands column. That means I'm going to have a decimal point here. I'm going to have a certain amount of tens, a certain amount of hundreds, and I've just done my thousands. Cool. All right, on to my next step. So my next step, I've done this step now. I'm not going to change that column there, so I can pretty much ignore that now. Now I go on to my next one across, which was my hundredths column, and I just read it off again. So this time I've got 4 hundredths plus 8 hundredths, the number on it, under it. So when we're doing this, we add our top number to our bottom number. And what does that leave me with? Well, 4 plus 8 equals 12 hundredths. Which also equals, and we can see how they write over here. They've got 12 hundredths here, and what have they done? They've split it up into 2 hundredths and 1/10. So anytime you get a bundle from one column in, if I was to get a bundle of thousandths, a bundle of 10 thousandths, that makes 1/100th. If I get a bundle of 10 hundredths, that makes 1/10. And so on and so on. A bundle of tenths makes a unit. A bundle of 10 units makes a 10. And it's that same way we used 10 ones make a 10, and we just have to put in the next column. That works for all the columns in the decimal part as well. All right, so I have to now break this up into its two parts. So now I say, well, that's 2 hundredths and 1/10. Because I'm doing the hundredths column, so I can only put one number in there. So I can't put a 12 in there because that'll change my number completely. So I just have to put the hundredths part of this in there. But fortunately, I've got my tenths column beside me, so that's where I can put that. So they don't write that they do this, but that's what you would do there. You would go 2 hundredths, 1/10 in the hundredths column, which is this one here. That's why you put down the 2 there. Then what do you do with the 10th left over? Well, I've got to add that to my 10th column now. That's why we put a 1 up there. And you can see that they've actually done these steps for you. And all you've got to do is that when you put that 1 up the top there, you've got to tell them that you're carrying the 10th. Carry 1/10. Ooh. All right. Now we're on to looking at our next column. So we've looked at this column, strike that one out. That's all done and dusted. It's just thousandths. We've got 6 thousandths when we add our numbers together. Hundredths, we've got 2 hundredths when we get that. Now let's look at our tenths column, which is this one here. Make that a bit clearer, sorry. So we're looking at this column here. And we've just got to go through and say what we've done again. Except this time, we've got this little 1 that we've got up the top there as well. So we just carried that. We added a 1/10 to our thing there. And anytime, even with multiplication as well, anytime you've got a 1 sitting at the top there, that means you have to add it on to that column. So here we'll run down from the top. So my first number on here is the 1, so I write 1/10. My second number is a 3, so then I've got 3/10. My third number is 7, so I've got 7/10. Cool. So that's what all the things I'm adding together. I'm adding this number here, this number here, and this number here. Ooh, no, there we go. And what does all that equal? Well, 3 and 7 equals 10 equals 11/10. Then I say what it equals in my tenths. So I've got 11/10. Now it's no good. I can only have the one number in my tenths column. So I have to realize that if I've got 10/10, then I can bundle them together and I can make 1 unit. So if I've got 11/10, I've actually got 1/10. I look at my right-hand number, 10th, and then I look at this number, and I've got 1 unit. And you'll see that then they've put down the 1 here, which we don't write in with this, and then they've carried the 1 up to the top there, which means I have to add it to my ones column. You can see that the decimal point's there. I'm now adding that to my ones column. So I just have to say that that's what I'm doing. I'm carry 1 unit. And if you use ones instead of units, it doesn't matter at all. All right, so thousandths are done, tick. Hundredths are done, tick. Tenths are done, tick. Onto the units column. And you can see what column you're up to because it's highlighted in blue for us as we go through. All right, and once again, I just have to read down to the top. I'm going to add this number here, and this number here, and that's going to give me a total. So I've got 1 unit, 4 units, plus 7 units. And hopefully we're also noticing here, as we've gone across from right to left, thousandths, hundredths, hundredths makes tenths, tenths make units. Now I'm onto units, and units are going to make tens. Which equals, where are we? 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 7 is 12. 12 units. And 12 units equals 2 units plus 1 10. And that's where I just need to write that I carry 1 10. And I think I've cut off a bit of this, but our last little bit of this one will be 4.346 plus 7. And we've just carried that one there. Put all these in as well. All right, so the last little column that we would do is we've done our tens now, and we put down our number in the units column. So now we just need to finish off, and we just need to put down what we would put there. I might as well stick to the format they use. They would put that in, and they would tell you what they put down there, and then you just have to describe it. So it's going to be two numbers added together are going to equal some number, and that's it. We'll fill that in. So I'm over in my tens column now, this column here. I've got 1 10 plus 1 10 equals, equals 2 tens. I put that down there, and I've solved my answer now. But with the understanding ones, it's really about being able to describe what's happening. Particularly important is you've got to show you know which column you're working in each time. Are you working in the thousands column? Are you working in the hundreds column? And it's really to make sure that we understand why when I add and I get 12 hundredths, why do I put that? What does it mean to have that little one up the top there? And that means that I've got an extra tenth. All right, thanks guys.